The Kings have finally won a home game. It had been a while. It had been about 2 weeks, but finally they win a home game, and it was against a very good Rockets team. And this was just a very impressive win. We needed this win so badly. With our record being at 9-12, we were 4-7 at home coming to this game on a 2-game losing streak, but had lost 6 out of our last 7 games. But this feels like a game where it could possibly be the turning point. You never know. Maybe next game and the game after that, Kings come out and they continue to, suck. Entirely possible. But it feels like if there is going to be a turning point, it's right now. And I'm not just saying that just because it's a win. I'm saying it because of how the Kings won this game. And because when we won against Minnesota, that was coming off a 4-game losing streak, but it didn't have the same feel. I didn't feel confident coming out of that Minnesota game. It was just a game we won because Minnesota played horribly. Fox and Monk went off in the fourth quarter. That was the reason we won that Minnesota game. This game felt like a much more complete effort and much more like what we want to see on a game-to-game basis. This is a Rockets team coming in that was coming off a win against OKC, obviously the number one team in the West. They are the second team in the West right now. They're not OKC. They're not the Celtics. They're not the Cavs. They're not the upper echelon of teams, right? This is just a team that's gotten hot to start off the season. They don't have that like superstar player that puts them at the very top, but it still is a very good Rockets team. And so this is a very good win. And it was a chippy game, a very physical game for once. It has been a while, but finally we got the refs more on our side in this game, which felt good because it's been a while. We've gotten screwed in the past week by refs quite a bit. So it was nice to have them more on our side in this game. And coming in, shooting was always going to be a massive factor because that's been the Kings all season. They can't hit open threes. And against a Rockets team where they have so much length, they're one of the best defenses in the league. The Kings were just going to need to be able to hit outside shots. And to start this game, they could not do that at all. To start this game, they generated so many open looks. Open look after open look. The Rockets, for some reason, started Jabari Smith Jr. on Domantas Sabonis. So Sabonis quickly went to work, getting deep position inside. And that collapsed the Rockets' defense. Kings were either scoring inside with Sabonis. He was super aggressive in this game with 19 shot attempts. Or they were kicking out to open shooters. Sabonis was getting open looks. Monk was getting open looks. Fox was getting open looks. DeRozan was getting open in the mid-range. Like everyone was kind of getting to their spots. And they were just missing. And so it felt like just another regular Kings game. Because this is what happens and has happened so much this season where the Kings start off and it feels like they're playing well. They were getting stops on the defensive end. The Rockets were cold as well. Keegan was amazing defensively. He had like 3 great defensive plays at the rim in the first quarter. But it felt like we could have been up more because we were missing open shot after open shot. And so it's like, great, you're doing these other things, you're keeping it close, but that's only going to last so long with this team. You need to be able to start to make shots. That's the story we've seen all season. That's why the Kings haven't won games, because the Kings have multiple problems. The simplest of them, and probably the biggest of them, is just their inability to hit open shots. The Kings only ended up scoring 21 points in that first quarter. They were down 7. And I was just kind of sitting there, and I wasn't mad about anything happening in the game. It felt like things were going fine, but it was just another Kings game that I had kind of gotten used to at this point. Thought the Kings were playing well defensively, especially on the interior. They were playing with physicality. They were getting all the right shots. And it wasn't happening. Shooting luck or skill, shooting luck wasn't going their way. At some point, it's not luck anymore when it keeps happening. We had Huerter and Isaac Jones come in on the first rotation, and that's very interesting. Obviously, Monk's second game in the starting lineup, so rotations are still probably not finalized, but the Kings went with a very short bench in this one, with only Huerter, Isaac Jones, and Jay Crowder coming off the bench. So that means no Keon Ellis. Isaac Jones came in, immediately had just a nasty block. Huerter came in, missed an open three. So it kind of felt like, yep, nope, just another normal Kings game. Not playing Keon, not a decision I like, but I will say that Kevin Huerter did play well because at the start of the second quarter, the Kings got more offense going, and it was through Keegan trying to make things happen off the dribble inside the arc. Huerter did the same. And that's when the Kings offense is at their best, when those two guys can actually get run off the 3-point line, because that's what teams are going to do. They're not going to let them take those open threes. They get run off the 3-point line, so it's like, can they create inside? Both of them had a couple open misses inside, but they also made some nice plays. And so that was absolutely key to the Kings actually getting their offense kind of going. And I do think with Kevin Huerter coming back from injury here in this game, like you have to play him off the bench because with Malik in the starting lineup, who's gonna score off the bench? You have to play Kevin Huerter. I just think you should be able to find a way to play Kevin Huerter and Keon Ellis because when your team is also missing open threes, like I know a guy who probably isn't gonna get run off the 3-point line, but can also knock down an open three. So it felt weird that Keon wasn't in. Mike Brown just straight up replacing him with Kevin Huerter. Like I understand wanting that offense in that 3-point shooting when the team started off not shooting well, and that absolutely worked. So I'm just like trying to come up with why would Keon not get minutes? And I think it's probably just because of the size of the Rockets, if I had to guess. Kevin Huerter provides you with just more size, or if you're playing Keon, it's not even really about what Kevin Huerter provides that Keon Ellis doesn't. It's about if you're playing Keon Ellis, it means you're playing more probably 3-guard lineups. And so I'm guessing that's why he didn't play because rebounding was always going to be a problem. The Rockets had 18 offensive rebounds. They had a total of 53 rebounds. I think this is only their second loss where they had over 50 rebounds. They just have so many long wings. And so I would guess that's why they didn't play Keon, just because they have so many wings that are just going to use their size, try to rebound. And when it came to that rebounding, yes, the Kings gave up offensive rebounds, quite a lot of them. Rockets 18 offensive rebounds to the Kings 24 defensive rebounds. Like that's not a good percentage at all. But I will say the Kings did battle inside. And I mean, the Rockets were just longer. It was like you kind of put your hands up, like, what are you going to do? And so what you had to do was just keep battling and keep trying to hit the ball away, strip the ball, or get a good contest when they do get the offensive rebound. And Isaac Jones was huge in that. He only had 2 rebounds, but a lot of times when the Rockets would get a rebound, he was just rejecting the shot or the Kings were knocking it away. The Rockets ended up with 17 second chance points, which off 18 offensive rebounds, I'll take that. Like that's that's not a bad point to rebound ratio. Even though we did go with a shallow bench, the production that we got from the bench, especially early in that second quarter, was just massive. Isaac Jones showing what he's got defensively, blocking shots, like I said, just being a nuisance inside and being a rim protector with his athleticism where he just has like springs, but then also showing what he could do as a roller and as a finisher. This guy just doesn't miss inside. He went 5 for 5 from the field. The free throws need work, 2 for 4 from the free throw line, but he was so good as a roller. And when you pair him with Malik Monk or just with anybody in transition, he's just getting inside. He's running the floor hard. So sorry to say, Doug McDermott, your days are numbered. You're probably getting waived. Isaac Jones is coming for that contract. And then you had Kevin Huerter. I mean, he threw a lob to Isaac Jones, and so that's kind of what I'm talking about. Kevin Huerter making things happen inside the arc. That's so key to getting bench production. We need that so bad. And then you had Malik Monk operating in the pick and roll with Domantas Sabonis in that second quarter. It was also very good. And all game. I mean, Malik Monk, 12 assists, career high. He was so good operating in the pick and roll with Sabonis. And so the Kings got rolling offensively there. And then, they got the momentum. And then there were a couple of moments where it was just lapses defensively. Too easy. A couple of layups for Reed Shepherd in transition. We kind of saw the holes defensively for Kevin Huerter. Also, just there was a miscommunication between Crowder and Monk in the corner. that left Huerter in a bad spot. And so there were just a couple moments during the run where we got it going offensively, where then it felt like we had those lapses defensively. We also just allowed a lot of rebounds, or not necessarily rebounds, but we lost possession when trying to defensive rebound on free throws. A lot of them getting knocked out of bounds off of us. I think it happened like 3 times, which that's just what Houston does. But obviously on free throws, you don't want to be giving those up. And then you had the moment where Sabonis gets fouled by Dillon Brooks, then goes at him again. Dillon Brooks flops. Fox is telling him about it. It gets chippy. Somehow it comes away with the Rockets getting 2 technicals. Somehow Fox avoided a technical. I thought they would have given him one just for pointing, but it was Monk. And then, who was it? Dillon Brooks and Jabari Smith Jr. And so that was, it was a fun moment. But then right after that, it kind of felt like the Kings got baited into really slowing things down and being super physical offensively. Like, we want to be physical defensively, but we don't really want to get baited into that game offensively. It's like they just kept throwing it to Sabonis in the post, and he turned it over twice in a row. That's what they wanted. Dillon Brooks wanted that physical matchup. They wanted to get under our skin. They wanted to take us out of our free-flowing, fast offense. Because when this team is at its best, it's playing super fast, it's playing in transition. And that's what we saw in this game. And so when they went to Sabonis in the post, I'm always fairly, anti-post-up Sabonis. I've made that very clear. And so his 2 turnovers, it just results in so many turnovers. So he had a couple of bad ones. And it felt like another one of those moments where the Kings kind of were letting a game get away from them because of officiating or like how physical it was. Because it's not like the officiating was going against them. But we've seen in this past week or so, the Kings not respond well to calls not going their way or whatever. And then so when there were moments in this game where they were getting into super physical battles and there were no calls, it's like that's a similar scenario where it felt like the Kings were not responding well. But it was De'Aaron Fox who quickly settled things down after those 2 Sabonis turnovers. Because a lot of times he's the guy that's kind of the culprit. He's the guy that's getting super frustrated by the officiating. He's turning it over or taking bad shots. But in this game, Fox, it was a nice change where he was very calm. He settled things down. He hit his shots, got to his spots. Sabonis maybe didn't respond as well in that scenario. He also picked up a really dumb 3rd foul on the perimeter late in the 2nd quarter. Just so dumb. I've defended Sabonis a lot for his foul trouble because I do think he gets a tough whistle sometimes. That was not the case in this game. He just picked up a dumb foul there. Like, you can't do that when you have 2 fouls late in the 2nd quarter, way out on the perimeter. Even if he wasn't getting in foul trouble, like, you can't give him free throws there. I get you want to be physical, but that was just a dumb foul. But it was Fox time, taking over a couple threes, a midi, and then getting after it defensively against Van Vliet. Understanding the refs were letting it be a physical game, stripping him. And then on that last possession, the Rockets hit Fox. He swings it to DeMar, who is open for the drive, swings it to Keegan. And Keegan finally hit an open corner 3. And that just felt so good. It felt like the perfect way to cap off an 11-1 run to end that second half. Keegan corner 3. That was perfect because that's exactly what we needed from Keegan in that moment. We need him to be able to hit these big 3-point shots because who else is going to do it off of these drives? Malik, he'll do it. Fox occasionally, he'll hit one. But it's like, who else is going to hit it? These big, big moment kind of threes, momentum threes. That's Keegan's thing. He needs to be able to hit those, and he did. So that must have felt like a big weight off his shoulders when he hit that one. So only being down 1 at the half felt pretty good with the way that we went into the half with momentum. But again, we've seen that so many times where the Kings just come out dead in the 3rd quarter. And so then it was DeMar DeRozan's turn. And that's exactly what you want to see because in the first half, you start with Sabonis. Then you go to Fox. Keegan hit his three in his moment, had a couple of other nice moments. You got some nice bench production. You had Malik Monk doing his thing throughout. But then to start the third quarter, when you need to keep that momentum going, then it's DeMar's turn. So it's like guys taking turns at different parts of the game. Your three stars taking turns, picking each other up when the other is not doing so well at a certain point. The Kings kept running plays for DeMar. It was the same two plays. They were using flex a lot to get DeRozan open shots, and that was also once DeRozan started knocking him down, because I think he had like 3 points in the first half, and then I think he had 13 in the third quarter, and then didn't score any in the fourth. So 13 of his 16, I believe, were in the third quarter there, and he was just knocking down and ones like he does, drawing fouls, and then that was opening up things for other guys when the Rockets started to, kind of pay more attention to DeRozan. They wanted to deny him the ball more. That would open up Sabonis inside. You had Fox and Monk draw moving screens on Alperen Şengün from fighting over those screens. A great defensive play where the Kings kind of collapse on a baseline driver. Sabonis gets the steal. They push it up to someone. I can't remember. I think it was Monk who ended up hitting that three. Keegan also hit a three in that stretch. And the Kings were just really frustrating Dillon Brooks, which was great to see. DeMar stripped him. Then he took a charge in transition. Or no, that one wasn't in transition. I don't know. It might have been. I can't remember. It was the Keegan one later that was in transition that I was thinking of. But DeMar takes a charge. I don't think that was in transition. And that was 4 fouls on Dillon Brooks, which was very nice. And that had the Kings going up 12 into a timeout. And so the biggest difference between how the Kings were playing in this stretch versus at the start of this game versus any other stretch where they were playing well against any team this entire season. The difference was Keegan hitting threes, was Monk hitting threes. It was just the 3-pointers, because you're up 12, but that would only be up 3 if Keegan didn't hit 3 threes. All season long, he's just been going 0 for, or maybe he hits 1. And so instead of being up 12, you're up 3, maybe you're up 6. Like, that's how big of a difference just making those open threes. And that's why the Kings' biggest problem has been the simplest, which is just hitting open threes. The difference it makes in a game like this is massive, because it's a game of runs. And so when you're on your run, like, that's not going to last. Most likely, that's not going to last the whole game. The Rockets are going to hit back at some point. You're going to make subs. You're going to have different lineups in there. And maybe it doesn't go so well in other lineups. Rockets are going to get going a little bit. And so it's like you actually have to capitalize and build leads when you're playing well. And that's something the Kings have just failed to do quite a bit this season. So that's why that 3-point shooting was so critical. Because Şengün came out of that timeout. He got a few buckets. You had DeMar keeping up on the other end, which was nice. But that's the perfect example of the Kings being up 12, then the timeout. And then Şengün comes out and he starts cooking a little bit. Once the other team gets a little reset, things are likely to change. But in this scenario, the Kings could live with just trading buckets. The Rockets missed a couple of free throws, but then and then got the rebound, and then Isaac Jones had that massive block. Isaac Jones, he's such a fun player. He kind of shows what we've been missing out on with athletic guys. I mean, I know we have like Fox and Monk to be athletic and catch some oops, but to have a 6'9" guy that's athletic, that's what the Kings have lacked. So him getting those blocks, catching oops, just dunking the ball, it's very fun. The Kings had gone 15 straight made field goals at one point. And that is against one of the best defenses in the NBA. So it was very encouraging. Sabonis did pick up his 4th foul trying to protect the rim against, I think it was Amin Thompson coming at the rim. So he had to go out, but then you have Isaac Jones coming in and having such good minutes. He had one play against Steven Adams where he's patient. He's just pump faking and then just puts the ball in the basket. He just doesn't miss, and he's so calm, cool, collected around the rim. And that's kind of what makes him special, because there are other guys that can do what he does athletically, guys that can block shots or rebound. He can't shoot that well. That's normal for a guy like that. But his touch inside is what allows him to actually be a pretty big positive offensively. Also, I loved when he just ran the floor against Steven Adams and DeMar. I think DeMar has shown that he is by far the best passer in transition on this team. And he made a great hit ahead pass to Isaac. And I'm expecting him to go up for the layup, and instead he's right under the rim and he just dunks it. He just kind of surprises me every time. And then another nice play that I really loved was just when Keegan drove to the rim and then had a nice kick out to Fox on the perimeter. The Kings did a great job of getting spray threes in this game, but you just don't normally expect that to come from Keegan. And so I feel like he hit those threes. Now he's not in his head as much. Now he doesn't feel like he needs to score. Now he's not, questioning, should I have shot that three or should I have driven? He just drives and then takes what's given to him. Nothing at the rim, kick to Fox in the corner. I feel like that's the kind of play that he doesn't make if he's not shooting well. Late in that third quarter, the Rockets, they stayed in it. They were getting to the rim a little too easily. They were drawing fouls. There was a miscommunication on a double ball screen that the Kings just, they didn't handle it well. It was an open three, I believe, for Jalen Green. Then Rockets ran it again. Kings handled it much better. So at least the adjustment was there, the execution. The second time was there. And then we had the last possession of the game. There's like 16 seconds. Fox is bringing it up. I literally said out loud, just don't turn the ball over. Because I've talked about this before. We've seen it so many times. Fox, he just will lose the ball when he's dribbling in these last second scenarios. And it gives the ball to the other team, with Fox usually being the last line of defense. So since he's the one that turns it over, usually it's an open dunk on the other end. A second after I say just don't turn the ball over because I saw it coming, he just randomly loses the ball. Just no defensive pressure. He just loses it. It's so predictable. I don't know why this happens so much in these scenarios, but then the Rockets get an easy transition bucket. The great part was then the Kings just chuck the ball down. I can't remember. Was it Fox that got the ball? I can't remember. Someone then catches the ball, feeds it over to Monk, who hits the buzzer-beating three. A great play with under 3 seconds left. And so in that whole sequence, the Kings ended up a +1. So great. But, man, he needs to stop turning the ball over in those scenarios because those are big momentum plays. It's like we should at least be going in with either the lead that we had when that possession started or above. But so many times we end up with below whatever lead we had on that last possession. And it's so frustrating, big momentum plays. Luckily, we were just able to counter with an even bigger momentum shifter on our own. The start of the fourth quarter was very interesting because, like usual, no Sabonis out there. So you have Isaac Jones, but you have Şengün in there. And Şengün, he just wanted to take over. And Isaac Jones was having a rough time with him inside. He's just such a big body. And Şengün was going at whoever was on him, getting room inside. The good part was, though, Isaac was just giving it right back to him on the other end, finding ways to beat him, usually with his speed, finishing inside. He drew a foul. Unfortunately, missed both free throws, so that's not great. But it was kind of funny just seeing Şengün trying to take over, and then on the other end, it's just like Isaac Jones countering him. That's pretty funny. But it got a little sketchy there. That Isaac Jones takeover didn't last forever. It didn't last as long as an Alperen Şengün takeover, as you would expect. He had those couple of missed free throws. Fox, he wasn't getting into the paint. I mean, Fox had a rough time finishing in the paint anyways. He was just hitting all his shots on jumpers on the left side of the court. But, a couple forced possessions, a turnover from Fox. Then Sabonis comes in, and for some reason he's posting Şengün. That's just not a good decision. And then a weird transition play, and Sabonis doesn't shoot the open midi. Then they come down and he shoots a contested midi. It was just questionable offense all around. DeRozan came back in. He didn't get involved those first few possessions. So it was a little weird. The Rockets were slowly coming back, but the Kings were getting stops, so it was okay. But the offense, it's just like, what happened to our beautiful second and third quarter offense? Even our first quarter offense was better. We just couldn't hit shots. The decision making was just bad. But then Huerter hit a big time three. That was huge. I think that got the lead to 9 after the Rockets had cut it to 6. And from there, I feel like things kind of got back on track. Sabonis had a big offensive rebound and one. Monk hit a three. You had the Mike Brown successful challenge on the Huerter 3-point foul. Keegan took a charge in transition, which those are my favorite. And that fouled Dylan Brooks out. My favorite types of charges are those, because those charges in transition, those are massive momentum plays. Because usually it's coming off a steal, and then they're going to get a bucket. And it's like, instead you foul out one of the other team's starters. Like, that's a huge momentum play. Because those charges are tough to take, but Keegan's been taking them this season. And from there, the Kings, I mean, they were just flowing after the first part of the quarter where it was a little sketchy. They got flowing. They were finding Sabonis inside. Fox got that steal and had the crazy, like, pop-up court, which I hated. Absolutely hated that. But it worked out because Monk got it. He feeds Sabonis inside. And then there was just a lot of Houston missing at the rim and the Kings just being physical. And obviously that's why Şengün got mad. That's why Udoka got mad. That's why they got ejected at the end of this game. They were frustrated by that physicality being allowed. Sometimes it's going to go your way. Sometimes it isn't with that physicality inside. And luckily this time it did go the Kings' way. But that's what we want to see from the Kings. Just being physical, especially when the other team is coming in and being super physical themselves and trying to get every offensive rebound. It's like when the other team starts initiating that physicality, you can respond. But it would be nice if the Kings kind of started with that physicality every game, not just in a game where they kind of get fired up by a scuffle that happens, But we'll take it. And there were some really fun sequences just to end this game. The Kings putting them away. A nice DeMar, I believe it was DeMar oop to Fox that kind of finished it off. It was so funny when all the stuff was going down late in the fourth. Şengün and Udoka both getting ejected. Then they just kind of cut to a shot of the court. And Sabonis is at the free throw line and he's taking a pass. But then I'm like, I thought at first when they first cut to it, I'm like, oh, he's taking the technical free throw. Like, that's weird. And then I like look over and all the refs are in the middle of the court and like everyone's still standing around. I'm like, wait, what's happening? But it was just Sabonis over there working on his free throw while all that stuff was going on. And that's just not something you see because I think normally like the refs get the ball. So that doesn't happen. Like, they don't allow people just to take practice shots during a scuffle. But I love that Sabonis was just like, yeah, all that stuff's going down. I've missed 2 free throws in this game. I need to get over here and work on this. And speaking of missed free throws, it was another game where the Kings finally, they're hitting their threes, 14 for 30, beautiful. 12 for 20 at the free throw line, 60%. Why? Why can't we have one game where we can shoot from both the 3-point line and the free throw line? Why can't that happen? But I will definitely take shooting from the 3-point line over from the free throw line. And I just love this win. One, because we saw certain guys knocking down threes. Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray. Obviously, Malik Monk had been, but mainly Keegan Murray and Kevin Huerter. We saw those guys knock down threes. We saw bench production from Isaac Jones. We saw Keegan and Huerter going offensively inside the arc. We saw the Kings battling physically inside and being able to combat the size and length of these Rockets wings, which we don't have, with that physicality and just going at it on the glass and just trying to bother these Rockets players that are trying to finish around the rim. And so I would say this is probably the best win of the season, just because I think the Kings played a pretty complete game. Maybe that is just because of what we've been seeing before, where the Kings have been playing so poorly. So maybe there was a better game than this, but it was a game that we needed so badly. And even late in this game, the Kings have been in positions to win games, but the fact that they just also closed it out and played a full 4 quarters was great. Looking at some individuals, Sabonis 13 for 19. He scored 27 points. I don't think he hit a single jump shot. He might have, all 6 of his misses might have been jump shots, probably at least 5 of them. Missed 2 threes, missed some middies, missed 1 for 4 from the free throw line. His jump shot wasn't going down. It was not normal. You don't expect him, with what he's been doing this season, it's just so rare that he like never hits a jumper in a game. But him just constantly going at it inside was huge. He just kept going at this Rockets back line. And Monk was also a huge part of it, finding him inside. But he just kept going. His finishing was really good, leading the team in scoring with 27 points. Only 7 rebounds. That's not a lot for him. But that's just going against this Rockets team. He had some bad moments in that second quarter, but he was able to rebound in the second half. DeMar, he chilled for a lot of the game, but in that third quarter, when we needed him, he came up huge, time after time, just running the same plays to get him the ball. And he delivered. But then he also did his thing defensively, getting steals. He got 1 steal, 1 block, took a charge, 16 points, 5 assists, 6 rebounds. So just a solid night for him where, not every night he's going to be needed to score 25 plus, because some nights you're going to have Sabonis and Fox scoring 20 plus Monk and Keegan and Huerter all contributing as well. And speaking of Keegan, he had 40 minutes in this game. He only scored 13 points. Like, that's right at his season average. Yet this game was so different for him. It's so different from what it has been. Those 13 points, I looked at the box score. I thought it would have been more, to be honest. But I think they were timely buckets. It was 3 for 5 from 3. And that's kind of the thing. Like what I was talking about with DeMar, not needing to score 25 plus every night. Like, you're not asking Keegan to score a lot. You're just asking him to be able to knock down his threes at a respectable rate and then at times attack closeouts. And that's exactly what he did. Plus, he had a great game defensively. 3 blocks and clamping up on the perimeter for the most part. It was such a needed game for Keegan. And him performing like this is probably the reason that this win feels so good and why it feels like it could be the time in the season where we turn things around, because turning things around has a lot to do with just Keegan being able to hit some 3-point shots. Then you had Fox 9 for 19 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3. His jumper was going down, 22 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. Also got after it defensively. He was just amazing in that second quarter, bringing us back into it when we needed it. Remaining calm, and that's exactly what you need your star to do when it feels like the team's kind of letting things slip a little bit and you're kind of getting baited into some stuff by the other team. He calmed things down. And then Malik Monk, 5 for 10 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3. His 3-point shooting lately has been so good, and that has been so necessary, even though it hasn't always come with the wins, because he can't be the only one making threes, but we need him to be able to make threes. His second game in the starting lineup. And it looked good again, because it just adds another dimension to that lineup, obviously. But I said it last time, I don't really care who starts. I still don't really care who starts, because that's not really what it's about. But if Malik starting means that he's going to play 35 plus minutes every night, then I want him to start. If he's getting 35 plus minutes off the bench, then he can be off the bench. But I think just with the way the rotations work, like, he doesn't normally get 35 plus minutes off the bench. And so maybe that's the biggest reason that he needs to start, because 17 points, 12 assists, masterful in the pick and roll, and hit some big shots. And then the 3 guys off the bench, Kevin Huerter coming in for 25 minutes. He wasn't great defensively. He wasn't horrible, but he wasn't great defensively. But that's the thing. We're not putting him out there for his defense. And so all season long, he hasn't been able to really contribute that much offensively. But he came in, hit 3 for 7 from 3, and had 13 points, along with 2 assists. He did have a steal and a block, but making things happen inside the 3-point arc, we need those points off the bench pretty badly. So if he can kind of settle into this bench role, that would be huge. Isaac Jones, 18 minutes, 5 for 5 from the field, 12 points, 2 blocks. he is going to get that contract pretty soon, you would have to think, because he's just such a fun player to watch, and it feels like he's always making the right plays. And then a guy I don't think I really talked about at all, Jay Crowder, because 12 minutes, 0 points, didn't even have a shot attempt. But I don't know, he just came in and he was a, a defensive wing. Like, that's just what we need. 12 minutes off the bench and just be a body that other teams aren't just going to target because he actually has some size and he can defend one of the wings on the Rockets. I thought the Kings' perimeter defense was pretty good in this game, limiting guys to tougher 3-point shots. You know, Jalen Green was the only guy that really got going. This Rockets team is so interesting because of what their record is, what their defense has been, but they don't have that superstar player. And obviously Şengün is like who you hope is that. But they just have like a lot of solid guys, and you're thinking like one of these young guys is gonna like be the guy. But I think one of the reasons is they've been rumored in so many talks about like going after Giannis, or lately going after Fox, like no, is because, well, they don't really have that perimeter scoring star. You know, they have Fred VanVleet, they have Jalen Green, but who's really like the future at guard for them? I don't know. But they just have so many of these guys in Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason, Amen Thompson. Like, they got Jayshawn Tate playing garbage time minutes. If he's on the Kings, he's playing real minutes because we just need these wings. And so watching all these wings, you know, Tari Eason, he came off the bench and he had an awful offensive game. Couldn't hit a shot, couldn't make a layup, but he still scored 16 points and had 12 rebounds. He had 6 offensive rebounds just because he's bigger than and longer than every other wing on the Kings. The Kings now go on a little 2-game road trip to Memphis, to San Antonio. Man, I want to beat San Antonio so badly because we have lost twice to them and they've been very annoying losses. This is a Grizzlies team that's had a bunch of injuries, but they're kind of getting healthy now. They have John Morant, they have Desmond Bane, they have Jaren Jackson Jr., and if you have those 3 guys, they have a lot of depth. So as long as you have those 3 guys, you can really fill out from there. But they've been really impressive. I mean, 14-8 with all the injuries that they've had. But really what I'm just interested in coming into this game is, do the Kings play Keon Ellis? Like, is this something now that we got a win against the Rockets that like Keon's out of the rotation? I don't think so. Especially when you're coming up against a guy like John Morant. You got to keep him out of the paint. That perimeter defense is going to be key. Fox is going to be key in that. But then you have to think that Keon would be a good option as well. And so I think I'm going to be interested in that. I'm also going to be interested in if the Kings can actually sustain some of the shooting from Keegan Murray, from Kevin Huerter, getting production from those guys. Anyways, that is it for this episode of The Roll Report. As always, shout out to the members of this channel, No Rain and Joe Mama, for the support. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.